Welcome to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra, and I want to increase your financial IQ with today's episode where I discuss a bad idea. It seems to me that home affordability is a key issue for our society, for the country as a whole, and politically. Home affordability is too expensive in too many places. As an example, the first-time home buyer age has increased to something like 40 or 41 years old now. That's quite a bit higher than it was just a few years ago before COVID. Significant problem. The Trump administration, though, has floated recently what I believe is a very bad idea. That idea is a 50-year mortgage. So right now, the longest mortgage you could get is 30 years. You probably know that. It is very mainstream. There's also versions of 10, 15, and 20, but the 30-year is the standard. I believe the second most popular is the 15-year. And the Trump administration is floating the idea of a 50-year mortgage. At first glance, that sounds helpful because that would lower the required monthly payment, making it easier for potential homeowners and for home purchasers to qualify for mortgages. It's a bad idea because it would delay real ownership for decades. Mortgages, if you ever looked at an amortization schedule, are front-loaded with interest. So that means in a 50-year mortgage, the first 15 to 20 years would mostly go to interest. Hardly any of it would go to creating equity. The equity would simply grow way too slowly to make this a good idea. This would be something for people that are really bad at math and people that are going to be taken advantage of. It would be patently unfair, in my opinion. To give you an example, at today's interest rates, a 30-year mortgage on a $300,000 loan will have $688,000 repaid. In other words, if you added up each monthly mortgage payment, principal and interest, over the full 30 years, you will have paid $688,000 on the $300,000 loan. That's $388,000 of interest. Even that seems pretty unhelpful, although it does work. I've had 30-year mortgages. I've suggested to clients they have 30-year mortgages with the idea is if you could pay it off sooner, that's a good thing. But moving on to the 50-year, that balloons to 1.025 million, meaning that if you borrow $300,000 at today's interest rates on a 50-year mortgage, and you paid each monthly payment for the full 50 years, you will have paid $1.025 million. You would have paid over $700,000 of interest. Again, this is for people that are bad at math. It seems to me very clear that the borrower would not benefit. It would be a trap. It might seem like a good idea, but it would be bad for most people most of the time. Who would this benefit? It would benefit the banks and the lenders. And I don't believe that any policy to make home affordability more attainable for Americans, it shouldn't come with the bankers and the lenders being the largest beneficiaries. I just think this is a bad idea. I don't know if this will go anywhere. The government agencies, this gentleman, Bill Pulte, is looking into it on behalf of the Trump administration. I hope they shelve this really bad idea. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but I wanted to share with you my opinion that this is a really bad idea. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I will be back with you on the next episode very soon. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast and maybe suggest it to a friend, coworker, family member. That'd be wonderful. Thanks again. Have a great day.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of Osaic Wealth, Inc., and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of information provided at these websites. Nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to or your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management Services, LLC, not affiliated with Osaic Wealth, Inc.